with this great city. Not one flag was thrown for this kind of dancing and celebrating. Oregon, despite the way they've been treated here in Husky country, they are officially the home team. Capital One Bowl Week continues on. The Deacons of Wake Forest against the Ducks of Oregon. Wake out of the ACC, Oregon out of the Pac-10. We're out of time for now. The opening kick on the way, but first to you, Reese.
Steve, thank you very much. Trev and Mark back here with me. And guys, Oregon's pass defense, that's been the Achilles heel this year. They gave up 33 touchdown passes, most in the nation. Wouldn't figure to be a problem against this Wake Forest offense.
No, they run all the time. But if you think about it, so far in all these bowl games that we've seen, guys, teams that are predominantly run-oriented have not been able to run the football. Wake runs 72% of the time. They won't be able to run. Oregon wins. You like it? How about, come on.
He's 1-7 in his picks. Wake Forest wins. They'll run the option up and down the field. Oregon doesn't see the option that much. Keep an eye on fullback Ovi Mahaley. He will run right behind the center and get a lot of tough yards in between the center and right and left guards.
I'll tell you, the other thing that's happening, the underdogs. Seventh underdog win in the Gaylord Hotels Music City Bowl with Minnesota beating Arkansas. We can see if Wake Forest can pull that off against Oregon. Ontario Smith, perhaps his final game in that duck green. We shall see. Kickoff coming up from Seattle after this.
Today by Ontario Smith, the first Duck running back to ever be three-time All-Pac-10. Trying to run him down. Wake Forest, Calvin Pace, already the school leader for tackles for losses. He can set the sack record today. Brand spanking new Seahawks Stadium in Seattle, Washington. It's the Seattle Bowl. Wake Forest out of the ACC, Oregon out of the Pac-10. And with that, we say greetings and good afternoon from the great Northwest. I'm Steve Levy. A year ago at this time, many felt Oregon should be playing for a national championship. They finished ranked number 2 in the nation. They start this season 6-0, got as high as a number 6 ranking, but from that point on, they lost 5 of their last 6. And partner Rod Gilmore, Mike Bellotti, the head coach, says there's no way they will suffer from a letdown today.
Well, he's right. They won't. And Wake Forest, believe me, they're excited to play. You know, in Bowl Week, we've seen motivated teams like Tulane and Wisconsin do well. Wake Forest is motivated. They missed out on a bowl game last year, and they're playing one of the best programs in the Pac-10, a chance to knock them off and do something special for the Wake Forest program. And guess who's back for Oregon? Oh, Ontario Smith, somebody who's a special player. Now, he's got an issue with his knee. He missed a lot of the second half of the season. He needs to test it tonight. When he's in there, he helps his team. They scored 38 points a game, 25 points a game without him. And the other issue with him, NFL. If he plays well, he might decide this is it, and he's out of here.
Speaking of issues, who's going to be handing off to Ontario Smith? Let's go down to the field and Alex Flanagan.
Well, Steve, all week long, the big question for Oregon has been who will start at quarterback. Jason Fife will start, but only for the first 2 series. After that, backup freshman quarterback Kellen Clemens will come in for the next 2 series. Now, both quarterbacks are aware of this situation. They have 2 series each to prove themselves. Based on their performance after that, coaches will decide who will lead this Duck team the rest of the game, Steve.
All right, Alex, thank you. And there is Jim Grobe, the head coach of Wake Forest. Interesting for him, second season at Wake. However, in all the years of coaching for him, 8 overall, this is his first time as the head coach in a bowl game. And of course, Mike Bellotti, the head coach for Oregon, so much more experience. The Bellotti era at Oregon has been its most successful ever. Now we are set for the opening kickoff. Wake Forest won the toss. They will defer. So we'll get to see Jason Fife in that Oregon offense right away. Matt Wisnowski is set to kick it off. Justin Finisi and Alan Amundsen are back deep. And it will be Amundsen from the 10-yard line out to the 20, the 30, and a tremendous run back by Amundsen. He brings it out all the way to the 41-yard line. And there is Jason Fife, the man who was given the task of replacing Joey Harrington, a legend, of course, in Eugene and trying to move on to the National Football League, and pretty successful rookie season with the Detroit Lions.
And Steve, Jason Fife was very much like Joey Harrington the first 7 games, 15 touchdown passes, 2 picks. The last 5 games, a little bit more Barney Fife in him with the 8 interceptions and only 50% passing 1 time.
Very good. On first down and 10, they'll pitch to the left side. It's Ontario Smith. And he might have a yard on the play. Backs and receivers for Oregon. Looks something like this. Ontario Smith, he'll get the most majority of the carry. Sammy Parker and Keenan Howry, outstanding wide receivers. The offensive line, Joey Forster. He's the birthday boy. Happy birthday, Joey. He, along with Nick Stites, will be featured. Oregon always features their athletic guards, and they have them in a pair there. On second down and 8, they'll try Smith again. He's out ahead of the 46-yard line. And the Wake Forest defense will look like this. There is Calvin Pace. All NFL eyes will be on him. The linebackers, Brad White, he's the guy coaches say you have to tell him exactly what you want because he'll do exactly what you say, even if you give him the wrong information. And Quentin Williams is the guy everyone is focused on. He got a lot of respect from the Oregon offensive coaches. Quick toss out to the left to Keenan Howry. And we'll see where they spot the ball. Had to get to the 49. Be very close to a first down. Darryl Shaw made the stop. Looks like they're going to be just short.
Well, Steve, I thought he actually got across that marker. I'd be surprised if this is a 4th down because it looked to me like before he went out of bounds, he got across that line. Looks like it's going to be short, though.
The officials are from the Western Athletic Conference.
Wow.
Tough spot, huh, Rod?
Yeah, but they're not hesitating. They look like they're going to go right after it.
4th and inches. And to find out exactly how many inches, they're going to bring the chain gang out. This is an Oregon offense that was ranked 19th in the nation in scoring, averaging 33 points per game. Let's go back and see how good that or close that spot was.
Remember, the ball is what's important. The ball is in the left arm. I think that's a pretty good spot. When you actually look at it, it looks like that ball got out of bounds before he crossed that marker. Good call.
First big play of the game. Ontario Smith. I'd say he's got more than inches there. He's down to the 31-yard line before finally being dropped by Warren Braxton. Good call on 4th and inches, Rod.
Not a bad idea to give it to that guy and attack him straight ahead. And Ontario Smith, the question is, really, does he have his full health back? Well, you can't tell there. Huge hole for him to get into. But he will test his quickness today. Can he cut? Can he dart the way he normally does? That's the big issue for him.
Gain of 18 on the play. First down and 10 at the Wake 31. Fife off play action. Had the ball deflected at the line of scrimmage. And Calvin Pace was the man who had the pressure and the big hands.
Let's go back to this quarterback issue a little bit for Oregon. Jason Fife started all 12 games. And when you start 12 games, you expect to be the guy. Now, Mike Bellotti says the passing attack didn't do well the second part of the season, so it wasn't just the quarterback. It was an issue of drop passes, poor line play, and all those things. And Fife says, oh, if that's the case, how come I'm the guy on the hot seat?
All the focus, all the blame, all the credit. Of course, too much always winds up on the quarterback, and Fife has been dealing with the brunt of that. Ontario Smith was taking on some people there, and he was dealing with the brunt of Caron Bracey. Came up with a big hit.
Well, the thing that you want to know about Ontario Smith, besides the knee and his cutting, how does he hold up to the hitting? Remember, he's been out for a long time. Can he take a pounding? I mean, he's built like a tank. He's about 205 pounds on a 5'10" frame, and he can normally hang in there. He's dishing out some punishment there on that one, but he hasn't practiced live an awful lot in the last few weeks.
3rd down and 6. Out of the shotgun, here's Fife. Pressure from the backside, let it go. And well overthrew intended target, Keenan Howry, and that'll bring up 4th down. Bracey was with him the entire way.
And that is not a good throw for Jason Fife. You know, first part of the season was very accurate. He had Keenan Howery out there, and he just missed him. A little bit too pumped up.
Fourth down. Look to put some points on the board. Jared Siegel will attempt from 45 yards away. Hit 19 of 23 during the regular season. His long was 59 yards. So 45 is not a problem. Siegel punches it through. And for Jason Fife on his first possession, his first series, he leads Oregon to 3 points. The Ducks, the early lead from Seattle. Back in Seattle, the Seattle Bowl, and Fife has led the Ducks to a scoring drive for the 3-point field goal. Kellen Clemens to his right is a series away from getting his crack at the Wake Forest defense. The big play, of course, the 4th and inches. Ontario Smith breaking it for 18. Here's Jared Siegel after the field goal. Puts it in the air. Chris Barkley. And it'll go out of bounds on the kickoff. And that's the reason for the flag. Again, the officials from the Western Athletic Conference. Bill Athen, the referee. Joe Kozak, the umpire.
Free kick out of bounds. The ball will be placed at the 35-yard line. First down, Wake Forest.
First down for Wake. They're led by quarterback James McPherson. He's an Arizona native, so he's certainly familiar with the Pac-10 and well aware of what Oregon is capable of.
He's not 6'2".
Yeah, we heard he's closer to 5'11". Handed off to the first man through. It's Terrence Williams, and he has a gain of maybe 2 on the play. The backs and receivers. Ovi Mahaley is the fullback, a real standout. Fabian Davis does everything for Wake Forest, special teams, receiving, rushing, etc. Bit of a shakeup on that Wake Forest offensive line. David Walters, they start at right tackle. Tim Bennett moves to left tackle with an injured Mark Moreau, as Moreau could play in the game. McPherson throwing across his body and completing to Jax Landfried for a big gain of 26 yards, down to the 35-yard line.
Well, what McPherson does so well, and we saw it on tape, is roll to his left and throw on the move. He does that as well as anybody I've seen. He likes that movement, so they do it with him early. They want to throw the ball when they want to, not when Oregon wants to dictate it.
Lofted it over the head of Stephen Moore. Out of the shotgun, McPherson, confidence, steps up, some running room, and splits through the defense. He's inside the 25, down to the 23. As we take a look at this Oregon defense, Robbie Valenzuela gets the start up front in place of Haloti Nada, who everyone is talking about, the true freshman. We will see him. And the linebackers, David Moretti and Kevin Mitchell, arguably the 2 best defensive players for the Ducks. First down and 10 at the 23-yard line. Again, handed to the first man through, it's Mahaley, and he crashes down to about the 20-yard line. Pete Lewis made the stop.
Now, you don't think of Wake Forest as having NFL players very often. Mahaley is one of them. I mean, this is a guy that the NFL scouts look at and they go, my goodness, he is a tremendous blocker. They don't run him an awful lot, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield as well.
Send the man in motion out to the far side. It's Fabian Davis. Here's McPherson handing off to Terrence Williams, and he crashes inside the 15. There's McPherson there. He said his coaching staff raved about him, the way he takes care of the football. Interceptions are way down, just 4 this season, after throwing 11 a season ago.
Oh, yeah, he became much more careful with the football and much more confident in the second year of the offense.
McPherson, option to the right, gonna keep it. 5, trying to get in, and they'll say he was just short. They're gonna spot it inside the 1. Kevin Mitchell got just enough to make sure it wasn't 6. Good block by Mahaley, the fullback leading the way.
Well, and there's a little bit of option. They don't run it a lot, but McPherson really smells the end zone here. I mean, they really run the option maybe 5 or 6 times during the day. Here, he sees it, he knows it. There's no way he's pitching that ball. And he's trying to stretch and everything to get in there.
First down and goal from inside the 1. Ovi Mahaley, touchdown, and Wake Forest takes the lead. How was that for an impressive opening drive?
Oh, we talked about motivated teams in bowl games. You saw Tulane, you saw Wisconsin, you saw Mississippi. All those teams have come back and shown something against superior, or I should say favorite teams. And this front line, this a little superiority for you. Look at that offensive line just drive the Oregon defensive line a yard back into the end zone. Mahaley goes in standing up.
Matt Wisnoski will come on to attempt the extra point. For Wake Forest, you bet they're motivated. Just their 6th bowl appearance all time. They started collegiate play in 1888.
That would be a long time, huh?
And Wake Forest doesn't look exactly organized here. The Deacons forced to burn a timeout. They only had 10 men on the field for the extra point. Maybe they surprised themselves by scoring a touchdown on the opening drive. 6-3 for now. Excruciating extra point, Rod. That Wake was forced into taking a timeout to make sure they had the proper personnel on the field.
Hey, they don't get the bowl games too often. They weren't prepared for this extra point.
Here's Matt Wisnoski, the extra point. Boots it through at 10:26 to go here in the first. It cost him a timeout, but Wake will take that and the 7-3 lead. We'll get set to see Oregon back on offense. The first time around when Oregon went on offense, Keith Allen, the 3rd string wide receiver, checked in. Rod, why?
Well, Andy Ludwig, the offensive coordinator for Oregon, told us, hey, if we're going to run the ball, we got to handle Quentin Williams. We want to send a message because we've got small receivers. What they did was they put Keith Allen in, 205-pounder, and sent him right after Williams, and boy, did he deliver a blow. Look at that. And so now Williams understands if he's going to get involved in the run game, he's going to have to worry about big receivers coming out to hit him.
Now, if you're just joining us, you know, that play only went for 2 yards, and Allen and Williams were nowhere near where the ball wound up.
Yeah.
But sending a message.
It's send the message, and then they ran Ontario Smith the rest of the drive.
Yep. And Williams clearly was a key guy that the Oregon offensive coaches are focused on, and you get the sense of that by designing that play particularly just for him. And the first play of the game.
Yeah, he's a big-time player. He loves to hit.
Wisnoski will put it in the air. 7-3 early in favor of Wake. Allen Amundsen out to the 30. And Amundsen is blasted down at the 32. Karan Bracey on the special team spot. It's a kick return of 20 yards.
Well, what do you think, Steve? You think that hit on Williams had any impact on him? I bet he's the kind of defensive back that will get right back out there, and if he sees Ontario Smith, or they call quarters coverage where he can play up close a little bit, he'll be up there looking to make a hit.
Williams leading all Deacons, making his 28th consecutive start in this bowl game today. Second series for Fife. He's going to put it in the air, and a poor throw. Wasn't unable to step into it, and undershot Sammy Parker.
Yeah, a little bit of pressure there. He threw it off his back foot, backing away. And you want to give Sammy Parker a chance to make a play. And I got to believe, though, you know, Sammy Parker and Keenan Howery, I mean, these are 2 great receivers. They probably are a little bit frustrated second half of the season, not getting the ball as much as they normally would have. Heck, they played with Joey Harrington last year.
Rod, this has to be going through Fife's mind right now, that this might be his last series, potentially, of the game, depending upon how it works out. This time, handoff to Ontario Smith. Out to the 35. It'll put Fife and the Ducks in a 3rd and long.
I think you're right. I think there's no way Jason Fife cannot think about this. I mean, he knows that Kellen Clemens is coming in the next series. He knows he's behind 7-3. He also knows that once Clemens gets the 2 series, the coaches are going to look at it and decide who plays from there on out. I mean, it could be over for him after that.
Fife 1 of 5 so far for 4 yards. 3rd and 7. Fife out of the gun, 2 receivers to his right, single one to his left. pressure, blitz up the middle. Fife throws, intended for Parker, who went up in the air. Fife was belted, so too was Parker, and it goes as an incomplete pass. Jamie Scott came flying up the middle on a blitz.
But you got to protect the quarterback, and that means you got to do something about pace. Watch him coming here. He's to the tight end side with Reister. Reister, the first guy. Then you bring the fullback over to help out too. Matt Floberg, a double team on a guy who was dealing with a broken leg, is back in the ball game. And you saw Fife was still under pressure on the other side because of the double team.
Jose Arroyo gets the punt in the air. Fabian Davis from the 17 for Wake Forest. Lots of east and west, not a whole lot of north and south. Finally cuts it up to the 27-yard line. It's a 47-yard punt and a 10-yard return. This is the second annual Seattle Bowl, but the first one played here at Seahawks Stadium. The game last year was played at next door Safeco, home of the Seattle Mariners. Wake Forest and Oregon, both of these schools finished 3-5 in conference play. Neither one particularly pleased with the way they finished the season. Wake alternated wins and losses in their last 6 games, and Oregon just flat out dropped 5 of their last 6. Looking to end on a high note, or start next season, Rod, on a high note.
But both teams played without some star players in their last couple of ball games. Oregon without Harrington.
First down and 10, Henry, third man. It's Fabian Davis, the receiver, on the end around. And he's down to the 41-yard line. Wake will do anything they can to get the ball in the hands of Fabian Davis.
Well, you know something? You always see the guy running down the field with the ball, but there's always a guy who gave him a great block, and it's Mahaley. You know, you knew it would be that guy because he is that man. There he is right there. Just watch him on his track. Watch the great block that he gets to get his guy to the outside. You lost him there, but trust me on that one.
I do trust you, Rod. Williams, the ball carrier, down to the 36. There is a flag down. That reverse to Dave, rather the end around of Davis went for 31 yards. Check the flag.
Steve, as we wait for the call here, we should point out this offense is unique.
Offside, defense, 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
What Jim Grove has brought here is an offense that he had at Ohio University, and originally years ago started out as the wishbone. It is no longer an option offense. They run about a half dozen option plays, but they will spread you out and they want to run the ball. They don't throw it much, maybe 15 or 17 times a game.
After the penalty, it's 1st and 5. Play action doesn't fool anyone. McPherson is dropped at the 47. Igor Olshansky came flying through. 3 sacks during the regular season, and there's a bowl sack for him.
Well, the inside of that line is pretty big, and Olshansky is 305 pounds out of St. Ignatius High School in San Francisco. They barely touched him. They looked like they were trying to set up a screen or something. He got in there in a hurry.
Igor Olshansky, born in the Ukraine. McPherson the throw, able to hit Jax Landfried for the short gain. Aaron Gibson, the true freshman corner, made the stop.
You know, Landfried catches the ball about as well as he caught the fish the other night.
Yes, and around these parts, catching the fish might be just as important, Rod, as catching the football. 3rd down and 6. Out of the eye. Option, McPherson gonna keep it. And he is very close to first down yardage. Trying the right side. Keith Lewis, from his free safety stop, came up to make the play. And it looks like they're gonna mark him short. Bring up a 4th down in inches.
You know, we talked to Nick Aliotti, the defensive coordinator for Oregon, and asked him about facing this offense. He said, I don't know what you call it, what you do with it, least of all what to call against these guys.
On 4th and inches, handoff to Terrence Williams, and he should have enough, push the pile for the necessary yard. And Wake Forest will hang on to the football.
You know, we asked Jim Grove about running this offense, and he said, hey, look, You know, we don't get the kind of depth and the kind of great players that other schools get. You know, we get a few. We don't get a whole bunch of them. We're a little smaller in the offensive line. We play to our strength. We have some quick guys. We have linemen who can attack you down low quickly. We do that, and that's the style of offense he has.
He said we have to be in player development. Develop young players. They can't get the Florida State and the Clemson kids who come with the height and the weight and the speed right away. But that was a neat point. Player development for Grove and Wake Forest. Again, across his body, able to complete to Fabian Davis, who cut it inside of the 20-yard line. First down, gain of 11. Let's send it back to Reese Davis.
Steve, we may have a few people joining us right now looking for SportsCenter. If you are, it's just getting cranked up over on ESPN2. 3 coaching changes in the NFL today. Kentucky has found its new football coach. And, of course, looking ahead to the final Monday Night Football game of the season. We still got football in Seattle, right, though, Steve?
Seattle Bowl continuing on here, Reese. At the 20-yard line now. Out of this no huddle. Handed to the first man through. It's Mahaley, and he's dragging some people down to the 9-yard line, down to the field. Alex Flanagan.
Well, Steve, Oregon coaches talked to us long and hard about how their football players had to play disciplined football against this very unconventional Wake Forest offense that relies on misdirection, that fools the opposition into making the wrong reads. Now, they have said it is like any offense that they have seen all season long. Oregon coaches have emphasized the importance of reading keys. Hey, Steve and Rod, they don't know what to call their offense. Nobody seems to have a name for it, huh?
Yeah, they could use a nickname, use something, but right now it is wildly effective, Alex. Chris Davis, they're going to say he stepped out at the 6-yard line.
Well, I want to go back to what Alex said about the misdirection and the reading your keys. That is so important. For example, sometimes, most of the time, you read in an I formation, you read that fullback. You try to figure out where he's going. He will lead you to the play. In this offense, the fullback will lead you away from a play. And we saw that over and over on tape. So the Oregon players have to get used to their new keys in some instances and staying away from old keys that can cause them problems.
Handed off, the second man through. It's Terrence Williams. He's inside the 5. Reese mentioned the Seahawks. Thrilling victory yesterday, although their season is over. What's your take on this place, Seahawks Stadium, Rod?
Not bad. I kind of like this, you know. It is definitely a pro stadium. It is, you know, great seats, great facilities, wonderful turf.
Nice press box as well.
I like that.
10th play of this drive. Up and over is Williams, but did he get over the goal line? No, he didn't. Terrence Williams went up and over, but not over enough, Rod.
Oh, you might as well go for it on 4th down, and here's the reason. You know, you're close enough. He's going to wind up being so close to the end zone here. You've got a chance to back them up if you don't get this. And on top of it, Steve, you don't get to bowls very often, and you could have the potential of putting a young quarterback in the end zone running the offense.
Handed off, the first man through. It's Mahaley waiting for the indication. And let's see. Oregon's defense held at the 1-inch line. Mahaley trying to crash through. What an effort by this Duck defense.
Well, I saw Haloti Nada in there along with Oshansky. That's about 600 pounds in the interior defensive line. It's hard to move those guys. You see him, there's 96 in there getting some depth, some push in there. And Keith Lewis, 16, gets in there as well. But just look at the push that Nada, 96, gets. He just reestablishes the line of scrimmage in the backfield. And a smart decision by Mike Bellotti. He does not send Kellen Clemens out to start his first drive in his own end zone.
Again, this goes against the script that Oregon had planned. Fife remains in the game, and he'll sneak it and try to buy himself some breathing room, and maybe out to the 1.5-yard line. Let's go down to Alex.
Hey, Steve, Kellen Clemens was prepared to go in. He had his helmet on. He was firing up the whole team. All of a sudden, a second before they ran in, he was told he is not going in. He ripped off his helmet, and Fife ran in for him, Steve.
Good job, Alex, down on the sideline. Clemens is the more excitable of the two. We'll see if we get a chance to see that out of him.
But you understand the decision-making process. You've had a guy who's in there who's warm. Don't bring in a quarterback who's cold and ask him to take a snap on the goal line.
And, of course, the coaching staff being able to adjust on the fly as the situation dictates. Here's Fife, going to air it out down the sideline. Parker was there. Good coverage by Darryl Shaw. And Fife just missed connecting. How about the other side of it, Rod? Fife not expecting to come back out. Maybe less time to think about it as well. Might help him.
I think you're absolutely right. You know, what the heck? You know, go out there and just play. He wasn't expecting, you know, maybe a sign of confidence that they want him in there handling the ball down around the goal line. That's got to pump him up a little bit.
Plus, I'm pretty sure Oregon didn't plan on trailing 7-3. And it really could have been 14-3 if not for that Duck defense stopping Wake at the goal line on a 4th down play. Here's 3rd and 9. Fife off the play action. They'll loft one. Right side. And well overthrew his intended target, Demetrius Williams. Eric King had the coverage. Fife now 1 of 7 for 4 yards. Will put their punter in a bad spot.
Yeah. But you know, if you've watched the Oregon offense, you know that they like to do 2 receiver routes. I mean, Fife had plenty of time to attempt to get the ball down the field because he had essentially 8 men blocking for him that time. And that's typical of Oregon, particularly when they're backed up like they were down here.
Speaking of backed up, let's watch the feet for Jose Arroyo. He is pinned to that end line. Low snap, fumbles the snap, picks it up, and he's fortunate just to get it away. And it takes a bounce, and an Oregon bounce. Looked like Fabian Davis had a chance on the first hop to come up with that and didn't elect to try it.
That's why you don't let that ball roll. If you're Fabian Davis, you go stop it. Pick that thing up. Right now, Wake Forest will still have decent field position and a chance to go up bigger over Oregon.
1st down and 10 for Wake Forest. They'll hand it off to Chris Barkley. The true freshman is dropped for a loss by Devin Long. Hey, let's go back to that punt out of the end zone, Rod.
Yeah, a great job to get it out of there. Now, we thought on the other end that Fabian Davis might have made a mistake. Look at this, ball caroms away from him. Actually, a smart decision by Davis not to try to go after that ball when it took a really nasty hop and just shot away from him.
And Arroyo is certainly fortunate. He'll get credit for a 57-yard punt. 2nd down and 11 after the loss. Out of the 40-yard line. Hand off to Barkley. Maybe got back to the original line of scrimmage. Chris Barkley had 8 touchdowns this season. That's 2 shy of the school freshman record set by James McDougald back in 1976. He averaged 5 yards per carry, Rod.
Yeah, you know, and they've been
true freshmen.
Yeah, running back by committee by them. Terrence Williams was not there most of the first half of the season. 2nd half stepped in, and everybody else had to step up.
Here's 3rd down and 9. McPherson out of the gun. He's got a couple of running backs with him. Rolled to his left and then handed it off to Barkley, cutting it back across the grain. He stopped at the 50 by Keith Lewis. Another big stop by Lewis, and he'll be shy of the 1st down marker.
This is more of that misdirection that we talked about, Steve. You get people going in one direction, and watch. All the action here is going to be this way, and he's going to come back there. The Oregon defense will buy into the action initially. They see it right, they go that way. Misdirection, reading your keys, staying in your lanes, playing your coverage, playing your responsibility is what Oregon has to do.
Ryan Plaquemire is set to punt from his own 37. Keenan Howry, always dangerous. He's back at the 10 for Oregon. Plaquemire steps up into the pressure and got it off. And it will bounce out of bounds at the 15-yard line. The Seattle Bowl continuing on. And in shocking development, it's not raining right now. Enjoying the game so far. Certainly Wake Forest is, and certainly the ESPN crew has been treated to fine hospitality here in the great Northwest. Here in Seattle. We experienced some rain and lots of coffee. Ontario Smith, the ball carrier. Under Fife, the first 3 Oregon possessions, a total of 35 yards and 3 points. Kellen Clemens checks into the football game now, Rob.
Yeah, heck of a prospect. He's a freshman quarterback, redshirt freshman. Did not get many opportunities this season, but in high school, he was special. 102 career high school touchdown passes, 37 as a high school senior.
2nd down and 5 upcoming. For Kellen Clemens. Gonna put it in the air for the first time in the game, and he's gonna complete it. Down to the 33-yard line. Hit the tight end, George Reister, on the completion. It's a 1st down. As for the quarterback situation and the thinking with going with Fife and then Clemens, we put it to head coach Mike Bellotti.
Jason Fife has had a great year by all standards, by his statistics, by the fact that we had a winning season. Could we have been better? Yes. Was it his fault? No. But I do think that Kellen Clemens deserves an opportunity, more extended opportunity, so we're going to play them both. Jason will start, and I believe both will play well. I really believe the competition we've had the past 2.5 to 3 weeks has improved our productivity at quarterback.
That time Clemens will pitch to Ontario Smith out to the 38. Quentin Williams, his first tackle of the game. And certainly that throw by Clemens has to give him some confidence.
I think so. Remember back when he opened the second half against Washington. He came in, first pass was called, was a deep out route. He got picked off, and it changed the complexion of that ball game. Kind of hurt his confidence. He told us that the other day. Well, he comes out, throws a corner route to the tight end here, lays it right on the money. He got pretty pumped up, and he told us he's a pretty demonstrative guy.
That'll do it. Quarter number 1 comes to an end of the 2nd annual Seattle Bowl, and it does so with Wake Forest out in front, 7-3. This will get you on ESPN, and the Deacons are just doing fine as we open up quarter number 2. Wake Forest with a 7-3 lead. Kellen Clemens will hand off to Ontario Smith. He's got a couple. Jamie Scott made the stop. Wake Forest last possession, their first 3 and out. The first 2 were pretty good, Rod.
Well, 2 big drives, only 1 touchdown, but it was McPherson who got things going. A little bit of option, almost got into the end zone. They did a lot of nice things. They used their big fullback, Mahaley, to get in there for their 1 score. They threw the ball to Davis when they had to, when they wanted to, picking up some yardage. Then they got stuffed the last time, and they didn't get into the end zone, even though they had a tremendous drive.
7-3. Wake Forest. Here's 3rd down and 7. Clemens in a pressure spot, the throw, and he sailed it on Jason Willis, and that'll bring up a 4th down situation. Brad White was coming on the blitz.
Well, Steve, I'll tell you one thing about Kellen Clemens. He's got a good arm. You know, that ball comes off nice, just a little bit inaccurate there. Pretty pumped up, too much to the sideline, but he's got a strong arm, pretty good release.
Oregon now 0 for 5 on 3rd down conversions. They converted 36% of the time during the regular season. Jose Arroyo is at the 22. Fabian Davis is back deep. Again, pressure. Arroyo gets it away. Davis backtracking at the 11. And now he'll try to show you some of his stuff. And he pushes it out to the 23-yard line.
Well, Steve, going back to what Wake has done when they've had the ball the first 3 times, started out pretty well. They got a touchdown on a 65-yard drive, and then that 72-yard drive needed to go another couple of inches, and they would have had another touchdown. Didn't get it, and then their first 3 and out when they started in good field position on their own 41. They moved the ball against this Oregon defense.
Rod, are you shocked right now? This is a 7-3 game, early 2nd quarter.
I'm surprised they've been able to throw the ball as well as they have.
Hand it to the 3rd man around. That is Fabian Davis. You'll see Davis all over the field for Wake Forest. He is the only player in the country over 300 yards of offense in 4 different categories. We're talking receiving and rushing, kick return, and punt return as well. This is a well-rounded young football player.
He is so important that Oregon has put a spy on him because he runs that fly sweep or that orbit sweep.
Here's McPherson. Steps up. He was pounded as he released, and just too far for Davis. who sold out to try to make that catch. Gave you the A effort, but couldn't bring it down. Darrell Wright was coming to pressure on McPherson.
Well, timing was just a little bit off on this route, but Davis is the guy. He's their playmaker. He's the difference maker on offense. He's running free here. He got inside the corner. Aaron Gibson, chance to make a play. Just a little bit long.
So far, Davis has a 10-yard punt return, 35 yards on reverses, and 11 yards receiving. McPherson again throwing across his body, and it's Fabian Davis on the catch, the 39.
And it's the second time, Steve, we've seen him do that when he rolls to his left and throws across his body. We saw it on tape, and we were like, wow, how can he do that? And he's done it twice in this ball game.
Rod, you always hear how that's the toughest throw for a quarterback. McPherson makes it look easy.
Yeah, he loves it. He gets it right on the money there.
Gain of 16 on the play. Handoff, try on the left side is Terrence Williams. You know, you mentioned how surprised you are that Wake's ability to throw the ball against Oregon. The Ducks' pass defense was flat out horrendous during the regular season. 115th in the nation, the Oregon defense against the pass. Only 117 schools out there.
Yeah, not real good. But that Oregon defense faced some pretty good quarterbacks down the stretch, but they did suffer.
McPherson off play action. Down the middle of the field, got a man, it's caught! Jason Anderson, touchdown! Make it 34 touchdown passes allowed this season by the Oregon defense. He beat Aaron Gibson, the true freshman cornerback, 57 yards and the score.
And you say, how can that be? How can it be 34 touchdown passes against one of the top programs out of the Pac-10? Well, their corners play a lot of man-to-man. They commit to stopping the run. And when you're a young cornerback, a freshman like Gibson, you're going to take your lumps.
Troy Calhoun and Jim Grobe and the Wake Forest coaches, good job adjusting. They run the ball, that's their strength, but that's Oregon's defensive strength is stopping the run. So they shake it up with the pass game. Matt Wisnowski puts through the extra point.
It's not even close. He gets by him so easily. If Wake Forest can do that, Oregon's going to have a long day. We'll be back. Seattle, let's go back to the touchdown catch by Jason Anderson. There's the single coverage we talked about. Aaron Gibson, there'll be good protection, but watch up here. That's press coverage. Gibson does not handle Anderson. There is no help. He's got to deal with him. He doesn't get a good bump on him. Anderson works outside and gets back inside. All McPherson has to do, Steve, is lay it out there for him and let him run underneath it, and he does. Perfect execution by Wake Forest.
Jason Anderson led the Demon Deacons with 4 touchdown catches during the regular season, including a team-high 70-yard touchdown pass in the game against Navy. Coaching staff told us he has as much potential as any wide receiver on the team, and came up with a 57-yard catch on the perfect ball thrown by McPherson. Short kick out to the 32-yard line, and that's where Oregon will take over.
Can you believe McPherson was not recruited heavily out of high school? Amazing.
McPherson so far 5 of 6, 117 yards, and 1 touchdown. This is a guy who only attempted 207 passes during the regular season, Rod. What is it average? 17, 18 throws a game.
Hey, he may throw his game high in this ball game.
Oregon only 2 first downs to this point. And on 1st down and 10, second series for Kellen Clemens. Under pressure from Pace, gets it away to Ontario Smith, but maybe got back to the line of scrimmage. Brad White had the stop on Smith.
Ontario Smith is obviously a key to this offense, and you can run it with him, you can throw it to him. And that's the thing that makes him also a real NFL prospect. And yeah, you know he's thinking about the knee a little bit. He told us when we talked to us, he doesn't try to think about it much, but you know, hey, he hasn't been hurt that badly in his life, and to have his knee makes him think.
2nd down and 10. Here's Smith again. And Smith rumbles down to the 35. Darrell Shaw brought him down, but not until he was already into the secondary. Ontario Smith so far, Rod, 9 carries for 46 yards.
Yeah, that's part of it's good. The part that's not so good is I have not seen the stop-start darting from him that you normally see. I think he's about 85%. He said 90. Mike Bellotti said 95. I don't think it's that high because I don't see the darts from him right now.
Total yardage to this point. It's all Wake Forest. Clemens gonna step up. Looked like a mini option to start, and he hung on to it. He's out to the 48-yard line. Shaw and Williams finally brought him down.
And you're right, that was some option, a little counter speed option there. They bring it back this way toward the sideline, and Clemens runs a little bit effective here. You know, comes back the wrong way as far as the defense is concerned, cuts back inside. He had Smith out there where he could have pitched it to him, but he saw the crease inside and cut it back up.
You know, I love when you say that.
Speed option?
No, you're right. That usually means I was in the neighborhood. I was in the ballpark. That's Oregon's first third down conversion. It goes for 12 yards. Send the man in motion. They fake it to Willis. Actually give it to Willis. Faked it to the first man through, and the wide receiver trying to cut it upfield across midfield. Karan Bracey made the tackle.
Well, this will put Oregon in a second and short, and they normally don't have a lot of tendencies, but in second and short, they tend to be a team that runs to the outside or they go for the big play. That's what you see when you break down the film on Oregon.
Dean Hood, the defensive coordinator for Wake, about those tendencies. He said, I've never seen so many different plays by Oregon used only once. Here's play action. Clemens had all sorts of time, lets it go now. And he overthrew the receiver, Parker, but he took a big-time shot there. Good pressure by Roderick Stephen.
Yeah, and they went for broke on that one, Clemens did. And again, he has fared pretty well, a little bit better than Fife so far. 2 out of 4, 14 yards, and then he was tough running the ball. Fife, only 1 completion. They both have been inaccurate on the deep ball, though. You know, and again, we talked about that second and short and tendencies, and you were talking about that. We know on first down, Oregon, you can't find the tendency on them. I mean, they will come out in any formation. They will throw anything at you. It's second down and short and third and short where you start to find some tendencies in what they do offensively.
And Clemens will take a timeout prior to the 3rd and 1. And we'll come back for a 3rd down. 10 minutes left here in the first half. Wake Forest by 11 up a 4th and short. No, actually, let's see where they spot it. Going to be just shy of the marker. It is 4th down. We've had a lot of 4th down situations early on in this game.
Yeah, and they're being footloose and fancy-free about it. Oregon going for it once again.
How about this? 4th and 1 near midfield. Hand it off. And Ontario Smith has it for the first down. And look how fired up Kellen Clemens is. You can see he's head slapping everybody on the team. Certainly exuberant. We asked Kellen, we were kind of kidding with him, hey, Kellen, about that first name. You weren't named after Kellen Winslow by any chance. And he said, yeah, I was. How about surprising that was?
I was shocked. I thought it was just a coincidence.
So, folks, big fans of pass-catching tight ends.
He's a quarterback, though. How'd that happen?
Well, that young, probably. They don't realize, Rod, he's going to be on the birth certificate. Thought he was going to be a tight end. Here's play action from Clemens. All sorts of running room in front of him. Now he dances a little bit, but he pounded out of bounds at the 40 by Karan Bracey. Let's go down to the field, and here's Alex.
Hey, Steve, I've been watching Kellen kind of before he went in and when the defense is on the field. He has so much confidence already about him. You know, he said that he needed to stay calm, that he needed to have fun. It appears that he's doing that. Before he was sent into the game, he kind of rallied up his players around him, took complete charge, and then a lot of people came over, gave him high fives. Ontario Smith came over, gave him a high five and a hug, and he told us yesterday that that was very important to have his teammates supporting him. Steve?
Alex, Clemens got in only 4 regular season games, threw only 9 passes total, and his skills are on display here this afternoon. Ontario Smith slashing his way to the 31. It's a gain of 9.
And Steve, I don't know how effective Calvin Pace is going to be in this ball game. He's out there in that left end spot, and he doesn't have full speed. He told us he thought he was running with a little bit of a hitch in his stride, and I think he clearly is. I think his presence is warranted. They need him out there. This is a guy who's likely to be a late first round or a second round pick. He's got all the skills, all the tools. He can play the run, and he can get after the quarterback.
Said he certainly pictures himself in the NFL, just can't place himself in a particular team uniform. Here's the pressure from the backside. Clemens didn't feel it coming, and he's dropped by Kellen Brantley on the sack.
Now, the thing that pace can do for you is free up other guys. They wind up paying attention and doubling him, and that frees up other people to get in and make plays.
Brantley, the junior from Miami, one of the real emotional players, really consistent, the top returning tackler from a season ago.
Well, there you see a couple of guys paying attention to pace to the right side, and that allowed Brantley to come in from the opposite side.
2nd down and 16. We'll keep an eye on pace here as well. Quick drop, fight the throw to Sammy Parker. He spun around and dropped down at the 31 by Darryl Shaw. Bring up a 3rd and long.
Yeah, Steve, I'm a big believer that when you play the Oregon offense, you have to control their tight end in order to win. And I think Wake Forest has done a good job of that. I mean, Reister is a guy who's an effective blocker, and he also can get down the field. He has 36 catches this season. If you can control him in blocking and control him in routes, then you got a chance to handle the Oregon offense. If you don't, forget about it.
3rd down conversions, not a strong area for either school so far this day. Quick throw, able to complete to Jason Willis, but he's going to be short of the marker. Looks like he'll come up maybe a yard short, Rod. Karan Bracey, who's having himself a ball game already for Wake.
And Mike Bellotti is going to go after this. And I think Bellotti is trying to send a message to his team that he wants them to compete a little harder. And it's just not at the quarterback spot. I think he's trying to tell everybody, we've raised the bar at Oregon. 7-5 is not acceptable. You got to do better than that, and if you're not willing to raise your level of performance, we'll find somebody else. And he's challenging his team in this bowl game, I believe.
There you see the conversion rate. Fife is back in place of Clemens. Was going to be the quarterback draw, and Fife's not going to get there. He is rocked first by Karan Bracey, and then he got some support from his teammates. So that 4th down conversion fails. And Wake will take over on downs.
Well, it's been all about that defense getting a nice job. Brantley this time on a big 4th down, steps up, controlling the Oregon line. Big hit. Gotta like the way that is if you're a Demon Deacon fan. And we'll be back.
Seattle, what else but the Seattle Bowl? Oregon had a 13-play drive resulting in 0 points. They turn it over on downs, and Wake Forest will take over. Sent Davis in motion, gonna hand it to him on the reverse. Fabian Davis with running room, cuts it outside, and is finally knocked down at the 41-yard line by Keith Lewis. Coming into this game, the Oregon, especially defensive players, were really excited. They play in the pass-happy Pac-10, fired up. They're gonna see a running team like Wake Forest. So what are the Demon Deacons? And they've come out firing the football, Rod.
They watch the tape. They know their freshman corners over there. So what they do, they come out bombing, throwing the ball, and then that opens up the running game. And you're starting to see that fly sweep with Davis. That was the one running play that Oregon was incredibly worried about.
Again, any way they can get the football into the hands of that man, Fabian Davis, that's what they want to do. Terrence Williams, the ball carrier, and he's sent flying back. Garrett Graham led the way for that Oregon defense. You can hear whistle after whistle after whistle after the play had already finished.
You wonder about the psyche of Oregon. It's a team that had a disappointing season. They were 6-0 at one point, expected to contend for the national championship. They're 7-5, and they're down to a Wake Forest team that they were heavily favored against. Do they rise to the occasion, or do they just kind of go through the motions? And I think Bellotti is going to continue to challenge these guys to raise the bar.
It's going to be a penalty against Wake Forest. Illegal substitution. Wake had some problems earlier. Remember trying to get set just for the extra point on their opening touchdown drive.
What a job Jim Grube has done preparing his team for their first bowl game under his regime.
Here's McPherson rolling to his right and throwing down the field. Underthrew it, and it's perfect to Jason Anderson. Good job by Anderson to come back and bail out his quarterback, Rod.
Well, Anderson was covered by Steve Moore. He was absolutely covered. And then McPherson just does a really nice job of taking a chance. He throws the ball up because he figured that his guy, Anderson, would come back for it. Now watch, right about here, he sees that he's covered, but he throws it anyway. And what does Anderson do? He just pushes Moore out of the way and comes back to catch the ball.
Jason Anderson only healthy for the final 4 games of this season. He's been plagued by a shoulder injury this season. So far, Anderson has 2 catches for 94 yards and the score. Fabian Davis again on that end around. He's able to turn the corner. He's blasted out of bounds at about the 19 by Keith Lewis, but he has first down yardage.
And that fly sweep, they call it the orbit sweep. It was something that Steve Spurrier used with his guys, called it a fly sweep. It's orbit sweep here. When you run it down around the goal line, you get a lot of man coverage. So it's an easier job to run it here. You don't have to worry about somebody simply stepping up and making a tackle. You run other guys off, he comes around.
Had some help from Mahaley, as usual, on a pretty good lead block. This time, straight handoff. Terrence Williams changing it up just a little bit. And you can see, Rod, looks to me anyway that the Oregon defense is kind of guessing, a little tentative, which is exactly what Wake wants them to do, or be.
Well, you know, they attack them outside, and then they pound them inside. And it's wonderful. I mean, you look at this. Now, this is after the fly sweep. Mahaley comes up the middle, bam, gets a great big block on Garrett Graham, the outside linebacker. Now they're pounding you inside after working you outside.
On 2nd down and 4. Handed to the first man through. It is the fullback, Mahaley. On another carry, David Moretti made the stop. Mahaley last year had 0 carries. In the entire regular season, Mahaley had 0 carries. He got 72 carries during the regular season, 11 touchdowns. 7th best in school history today. He's already carried it 5 times. But again, not a single carry last season, Rod. 3rd and 2. Out of the eye. And now McPherson will change the play at the line of scrimmage. 3rd and 2 at the 11 of the Ducks. Option, flip it out to the right to Terrence Williams. Turns the corner, and he is belted out of bounds at the 3. Stephen Moore put a good lick on him there.
And that time, I thought Terrence Williams got a little bit ahead of Mahaley. He should have allowed Mahaley to give him the block. He had it set up, but he didn't use his blocker, and instead took a big shot from Stephen Moore. Listen to this hit at the end of this thing.
Oh. And then Moore stands over him. 1st and goal, Terrence Williams to the goal line, but not across it. Kevin Mitchell, another big stop for the junior from Orange, California.
Okay, now Terrence Williams is a nice back, but he's only 175 pounds. And you're slamming him up in there right now. Now, you got a big guy. You got Mahaley, who's 250, who's going to be in the NFL next year. Maybe, just maybe, Steve, you let him take on one of those linebackers inside here. What do you think?
I think it's a good idea. Mahaley did score the first touchdown, but was stopped at the goal line last time around. McPherson, the keeper, did he get there? There's the signal, touchdown. James McPherson, a Wake Forest, the quarterback keeper. And Wake Forest is doing a number on Oregon. And that number right now is 20-3.
Heck, when your offensive line is getting a charge the way Wake Forest is, you don't need a 250-pound fullback. Just let the quarterback get in right behind him. But how about Mahaley? He will get involved anyway and get a little push there.
Mike Bellotti can enjoy what he has seen so far. Still a lot of football time left as Wisnowski comes on to pump the extra point through. 2:40 to play here in the first half. Wake Forest all over the Mighty Ducks of Oregon. It's 21-3.
Smith is not only dealing with a sore knee, now he has to contend with an eye that is almost swollen shut. You can see that he's icing it. His own helmet slid down, cut his eye. He will play, but it may be closed, Steve.
Wow, that's cut me Mick from Rocky. I mean, that's That's what that looks like. Ontario Smith, as if it's not bad enough, with the score being 21-3. Now Ontario Smith can hardly see out of one eye, Rob.
And remember, when Ontario Smith is in the game, they can score. They're about 38 points a game. Without him, they're about 25 points a game.
Good job by Alex. You just assume he took a finger to the eye, but as Alex reports, it was his own helmet sliding down. Justin Finisi on the return. Out to the 40-yard line, and with that, eyes wide open. Here's Reese Davis.
All right, Steve, coming up at halftime, Minnesota went down to the Music City and hit all the right notes against Arkansas. We'll talk about it at the half, and it is finally game week for the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. We'll take you out to Tempe and also give you a peek at the Peach Bowl. Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, one of the better matchups we have in Capital One Bowl week. See you in a bit.
All right, Reese, we look forward to that. Reese, Trev, and Mark all coming up at halftime. In a football game, there's 2.5 left in the first half. First down and 10 for the Ducks of Oregon. Kellen Clemens will get a third series. And here it is. Clemens, the pump on the checkoff down low to Matt Floberg. The fullback carries across midfield and into Demon Deacon territory. 15-yard gain.
And you were right again. He checked off again. Went down low looking for Floberg because Reister was the guy he wanted down the field. It's a smart decision by him to come off of Reister and drop the ball lower to the fullback.
You know, Rod, even by osmosis, hanging around with you for a whole football season, I'm bound to pick up a couple of things.
Now, if I could just learn some hockey.
We'll work on that in 2003. Here's Clemens, rolling to his right, throwing on the run and completing to Keenan Howry, and he's out to the 40-yard line. To gain a 6 on the play.
Well, this is something that Clemens hasn't done in a couple of years. A hurry-up offense, 2-minute drill.
That's the second catch of the game for Keenan Howry. He is the school career leader in receptions, and he's working on a couple other records today that he'll shoot for as the game progresses. Again, the underneath pass, that time it's the tight end George Reister. Karan Bracy, another tackle for Wake Forest.
Well, that'll bring up a third down. A timeout by Oregon here. 2-minute drill. How about the young quarterback? Can he get it done? We'll be back. Had my own driver, huh?
You had one of those hats on. Choo choo.
I have one of those. Yeah. It's my own hat.
Yes, you do. Rod's sporting mittens, folks, right now. That should give you an idea of the temperature here in Seattle. Here's Clemens. And it's still Clemens. And he'll be tripped up at the 30-yard line. Quentin Williams wrapped him up. It's a gain of 6. Clemens during the drive, for the game so far, 7 of 9 for 54 yards.
And I like his presence. You know, he jumped up quickly, got to the line of scrimmage, encouraging his other teammates to get there. He knows what's going on around him right now. Good composure, good presence.
And Ontario Smith has not played this series. Final 50 seconds of the first half. Clemens for Reister. And he's bumped out inside the 25, stops the clock with 46 seconds left. Kellen Brantley made the tackle. The Ducks have 1 timeout left in the half.
Well, Steve, we talked about Calvin Pace and that leg and how much a problem. There he is right there in the middle. You'll see him. He's not getting much going. Watch him run. He's really, that's the hitch he was talking about. And if you're going to have him in the second half, maybe you even get him out here and let him have a little extended halftime rest. It's amazing he's even trying to play with a broken fibula, or healing from that anyway.
And with a 21-3 lead. Here's Clemens, rolling to his right and throwing. It's Howry down to the 7-yard line. It's his third catch of the game. Warren Braxton bumped him out.
I think Mike Belotti's going to have an interesting issue in the second half. This guy is starting to make some throws. He's starting to get some confidence. Watch him here. Moving, on the move. Nice bullet. Right there to Keenan Howry. This is a big-time throw when you can move to the right like that and throw that long out.
Good cut by Howry as well. Clemens 5 of 5 on this drive alone. And I got a feeling Pfeiffer's well aware of Clemens' statistics to this point. option. Smith checks in, and then he is flipped on the play by Eric King from his cornerback spot and drops him around the 5, and Oregon will spend their last time
What's
out.
Eric King doing? He's a cover corner. Cover corners don't hit like that.
Coming up to make a tackle, Rod, just the way you used to. 30 seconds left in this half. Giving you too much credit there?
Covered corners, we cover.
Like Dion? Great college football continues on as Capital One Bowl Week will feature these 3 games tomorrow on ESPN. And each one of them will feature a ranked team. 15th ranked Boise State, 21st ranked Colorado State, and the Terps of Maryland, number 18 in the Chick-fil-A Beach Bowl. Well, they'll take on the Vols of Tennessee. Kind of strange to see no number in front of Tennessee there.
I know, and nice to see the number in front of Boise State.
Yep.
That is a team worth watching. If you have not seen those guys, that's a good football team.
And so much more than just the blue turf, which is kind of gimmicky, kind of what they're known for and everything.
Brock Forsey.
Absolutely.
You know, that alone is enough.
What a season, and congratulations to the folks at Boise State.
And Dan Hawkins, you know, the head coach there, one of the true young masterminds in the game. A lot of folks looking at him, trying to seal him away from Boise State. He said, I'm going to stick around a while.
Final half minute of this first half. Oregon cannot stop the clock again. Ontario Smith now out of the game. This is 2nd down and goal from the 7-yard line. Ducks desperately need a score to take with them into the locker room. Here's Clemens. The throw, it is caught. Touchdown. The junior, Sammy Parker. And that's 6. And a strong throw by Kellen Clemens. For Clemens, his 2nd touchdown pass of the season.
And Fife comes on the field to hold for the point after attempt here. And he's got to be thinking, so far, Clemens has outplayed me.
And that'll be interesting, Rod. These are college kids. Let's watch the hold here on the extra point. There's a good look at Fife.
Yeah, did you see the pat on the head by Siegel? Patted Fife.
Snap and the hold are perfect. So too is Jared Siegel. 26 seconds to play in the half. Clemens goes 6 of 6 for 57 yards to the score on that drive, Rod.
Well, there's not much room for error here. Clemens has got to stick this thing in there in a hurry because there's a corner lined up, man coverage coming inside. He throws a bullet. If he had taken anything off that ball, that is a pick 6 the other way.
And he showed you a little poise there, Rod. He wasn't looking that way the whole time. Gave you a little glance to the right before throwing to his left.
Yeah, he came with it. Now we're starting to see a little bit of what the Oregon Ducks, and Mike Bellotti in particular, have been seeing in practice from this guy all season long.
The coaches, really both quarterbacks, told us they're excited about the competition that'll take place prior to next season. A competition that has really played out over the last month or 5 weeks of the regular season here into the bowl season. 26 seconds left in the first half, and it's an 11-point game.
And there's Jason Fife, the man who started all 12 games for the Ducks this season.
Jared Siegel to put it in the air. Fabian Davis from the 12. And right into the Duck special teams to the 22-yard line. Ramon Reed was the first man there for Oregon.
I think Kellen Winslow Sr. would be proud of his namesake. Kellen Clemens on this 2-minute drive. He takes the ball up the field, picking up a first down. Good composure, pocket presence, knows when to get out of bounds, when to get up and get back to the line of scrimmage, and then makes the touchdown throw, a bullet to Sammy Parker, and he got his Ducks right back in this ball game.
Andy Ludwig, the offensive coordinator for Oregon, said when Clemens goes in there, something exciting will happen. Didn't necessarily know it would be good or bad, but it would be exciting, and so far it's been good for Oregon when he's been in there. Barkley is the ball carrier for Wake Forest, stopped by Moretti, and some extracurricular after the play, but no flags and no more plays. That'll do it. First half is complete of the second Seattle Bowl, the first from Seahawks Stadium. And at halftime, Wake Forest will take a 21-10 lead with them over Oregon into the locker room. 21-10 is the score at the half. We'll see you for the second half. But first, take a look at Reese Davis.
Steve.